Hi there, my name's Jill Tiney. I'm from Collaboration Global, and this is our podcast, Being Human, Hidden Depths. I'm going to be interviewing some of our members from Collaboration Global, and they're going to be sharing with you their extraordinary lives. Although they would probably believe they're just normal, everyday, average humans, but they are extraordinary. A bit like you and me, we all have our story to tell. We've all been through difficult times, and we've come out the other end having learnt an extraordinary amount about ourselves that we can share with others. So I think you'll find lots of things that will resonate with where you've been in your journey as well. I look forward to seeing you on the other side. Hello and welcome to the Collaboration Global podcast. My name is Jill Tiney, and I'm really pleased to say that I'm welcoming today old friend and colleague Simon Thomas of Toucan Internet. Simon, very quickly, what is your strapline that everyone remembers?
Oh, hello everybody. And thank you, Jill. The one I used in BNI all the time was don't waste time thinking you can, ask Toucan, because if anybody can, Toucan can. People seem to remember it all around the county. Wherever I went, I would use the strapline. At the meeting at the end, they'll come up to me and go, "It's you!"
Yes. I used to talk about you all over the place because there were people that had no strapline at all and they weren't memorable, and it wasn't. And I said, if anyone can, Toucan can. That was the one thing that people could remember. And then eventually they would find you and go, "Oh, you're a real person. It's not just Jill making it up." But you actually have a toucan in the room, don't you? Show us your.
Do you want to see my toucan?
This is very.
Can you see him?
Lovely.
It's just to prove that I don't take life too seriously.
Indeed. And also it would timestamp us for the beginning of the coronavirus.
Yes, coronavirus, Flybe going out of business yesterday, and probably all manner of other things going on. So there is some good as well that we're going to talk about, I'm sure.
Oh, well, yes, it's not all doom and gloom. But I like to see he's well prepared, your little
He is
toucan.
indeed.
That's fine.
We are worried about viruses in what we do.
What's your take on it? I heard some of the news today about people stockpiling and things. What's your view around how we're coping with it?
It's human nature repeating itself over and over again, isn't it, really? The cause of it, yes, from a scientific point of view, there has to be a sort of complete change in how you handle live meat markets, because the last two strains have come from that place. But generally, the thing that appalls me most is the media, the need for a story. I from way back when I was chairman of Dumbo Round Table, and we used to run the town carnival, which was a fairly big undertaking. It drew in about 8,000 people and had a procession, afternoon events, and then evening events. And it's a really great event for the community and everybody around. But it became too much because round tablers, they're under 45. They're all running their own businesses. Some of them, most have probably got young families, and anything that's done for the community is done out of their spare time. So we said, look, community, can we share the load? Can you guys look after the carnival procession, and we'll look after the on-field events and everything else, and we will mastermind the whole thing together. Oh, yes. So I put out a very positive press release to the paper, and the headlines in the local paper the next day were, Simon Thomas, chairman of Dumbo Round Table, cans carnival. It couldn't have been further from the truth. And that was a genuine collaboration between a very successful, proactive community group with the rest of the community. And the paper's just trashed it. So I think that somebody has an agenda all the time. And the simplest agenda is probably, I just want to sell more newspapers, or I want to get more news space, because if I get more news space, I'm then in people's presence, and then I can do all the add-ons, which are down the right-hand column and on the footer, and you then engage with them, and then you can sell to them. So I'm utterly critical of the press for this.
Current media, and I think that I'm hoping the tide is turning, but they would advocate that shock horror headlines grabs people's attention and gets them to want to read more. And I think sometimes it's nice headlines that make me want to pick up a newspaper. And, you know, when you've got some good news that's coming at you. I get a magazine called The Week. And that is the roundup of all the newspapers. But what happens is you read a little piece of, oh, it's Brexit, and this is terrible, and that's terrible, and that's terrible. And then somebody else from another paper goes, oh, well, I disagree with so-and-so because of this and this and this. Like, well, then you get a kind of this balanced view of this one going on. And then at the end of the time you've read the whole magazine, you've had everything that, and you've got a balanced view because you're reading everyone's kind of diatribe of what they think. So I'm hoping that people aren't necessarily drawn to bad news, but I think as far as the coronavirus is concerned, and there's all this panic buying that's going on, I think it's the media drive the fear, and it's flu, for goodness sake. We have flu every year. It's just a different type of flu,
and it might be a bit more aggressive, and there might be no or very little resistance in the human population to it, which there probably is to a number of strains of flu, but this one obviously not. So, you know, it's going to take its toll. But was it the Americans yesterday? It was, oh no, just go back to work and you'll be fine. I think this was Trump. And from what I'm hearing from our government at the moment, is actually consideration and resources. So they seem to be ticking all the boxes for a change for me. So
there we go.
Let's hope that there's a solidly sensible head and the budget to actually make things as smooth as possible for everybody.
Yeah,
and it has to get worse before it gets better. I think they're saying it's was it a 9-week or a 13-week cycle for a pandemic. Once it hits, you've got it will get worse to the worst point in 9 weeks, and then it starts to tail off. But you know you've got the journey ahead of you.
Yeah. It's interesting from your perspective that I sort of spoke about the coronavirus, and I was thinking about the immediacy of how people can help each other. And your engineering mind and your sort of the way your brain thinks immediately went back to, well, this is where it started, and this is the process that it went through. It's interesting. We were talking about this the other day, weren't we? About how different our minds work, and how you first came to Collaboration Global previously as B Collaboration. And I remember when you first came, and I was like, well, that's lovely, he's come. It's great to, I could see you there in the room that you were supporting us, but I was curious to see what you made of it, because I'm thinking, he's not going to get this. He's not going to, it'll be interesting. Okay, let's see. It's really lovely that he's here, but he won't join. He won't get involved. I'm sure he won't. He's just, having a look. And then when you actually joined, I was like, oh, hello. That's interesting. So from your perspective, could you share with people what your first impression was of B Collaboration as it was then, and your journey, because it's nearly, 3 years, is it? Or longer?
At least that.
Yeah.
At least that.
Yeah.
That's one thing about, I don't do back, I do forward.
Yeah.
I'm asked Denise about anniversaries, and she'll explain. I just don't remember things in the past. It's now. And
I love that.
What I've got planned. It's just the way I'm wired. What's happened in the past is in the past.
Yeah.
Lots of learnings, lots of crossroads, decisions made, and everything. But they're in the past. So dates are a bit off. But I should imagine it's probably at least 4 years, I think. What attracted me to you guys? Well, you invited me along, and then I met other people. I thought, you're interesting. You're not engineering. You're not business. You're not networking. You're different. And I think ultimately I thought, it's a bunch of coaches. You're all coaches.
Ah.
And then I thought, no, you're all trying to change the world. You've all got some personal mission to make mankind better, but I just make businesses better. I thought, I don't fit at all. So I even today when I go to some meetings, I feel a complete outsider, but that doesn't worry me, because I love it, because it's a totally different space to the space I occupy during the week. I'm not there to get material for courses or for anything like that. For me, it's been predominantly a personal development journey. Yeah. And every meeting is that. I think the whole organisation, rewind, the movement, I think the whole movement is about to jump to another phase. And I don't think any of us know exactly what it is, but there's a core of people that do what I call the woo-woo stuff very well. And there's a lot of value in sharing that. And some of the master classes after the Know and Be Knowns, or what are they called now?
Connect to Me.
Connect to Me, after the Connects to Me, that there's tremendous value being delivered almost on a one-to-one. So there's so much potential there that it has to springboard out into something that is that has some commercial angle to it. And I think that that would be evidence to the world of real collaborations working in a commercial manner, rather, as opposed to the where they're working very well at the moment in just a supportive manner. Does that make sense?
Yes, definitely.
So that's what. So I'm there because it's a totally different world to me. I get personal development value out of every meeting. You're a nice bunch of people, so you know that's always a great attraction anyway. And I always take something away, even if it's just a reset for me, to actually have an afternoon where I can just sit back and reflect on things that I wouldn't probably reflect on or take for granted anyway. So it's a very good point. I do feel very much the I don't fit with these people, because you say you're all coaches, you're on a mission to have to bring some benefit to mankind, and I'm an engineer, and my gift, using Andrew Horder's terminology, or my genius using Erkan's terminology, is that I make a difference, but it's actually joining up the technical dots for a better life, which is probably the most concise thing that I could actually, if I had to put a strap line to myself.
Yeah.
My past life has been nothing but predominantly sorting things out for people with knowledge or resources that I've got that they don't have. That's including developing products for the human genome, providing reagents for genetic manipulation, which pioneered DNA fingerprinting and built Dolly the sheep. Do you know it's 35 years ago today that the first DNA fingerprinting was used.
Wow.
So it's a bit of a sort of milestone day today.
And you had a hand in that.
Well, yeah, we were part of the supply process that made it happen.
Wow.
Interesting times.
Imagine how police work would work if they didn't have that access to that. It would be a different world, wouldn't it?
Oh, they would be operating blind. It's a tremendous way of tagging. You wherever you touch or move or whatever, you're tagging where you are.
And of course, now the next thing that they're talking about is where you can generate DNA, and potentially that could be planted anywhere that is actually nothing to do with the person, but their DNA has been generated elsewhere in a little test tube, and then that's planted somewhere. So the whole criminal, that's a whole other podcast, isn't it? The criminal underworld could be having a field day, because we wouldn't be able to trace them. It's a bit like when you first found out about the fingerprint, and then that kind of, and then the DNA superseded that. Well, it's like now the intelligence is out there to create this DNA.
Well, the ability to, because the DNA is a code, there are avenues of research that are using DNA for storing data. You actually build the DNA spiral to be data, like stored on a hard disk or stored on a cassette in the old days.
Oh, it makes your mind go.
Oh, absolutely. To actually, if you can write and read a sequence consistently and store it so that its integrity remains, you've got a data storage system, and that's exactly what DNA is.
Oh wow.
Great stuff. Where's it going?
Yeah, exactly. Well, let's go. Rather, I know you say you don't like looking back, but let's just briefly look back to maybe Simon as a child. What was your fun thing that you used to do?
Oh, take that screwdriver off him, Barry. Take that screwdriver off him.
Was that what your mother used to say?
No. Actually, my granddad got me. Whenever we went to go and stay with him, he would have a hammer,
Right.
loads of nails and bits of wood, and this is as soon before I could walk or whatever, and I just hammered bits of wood together. And
wow, what happened to health and safety then? Oh, my thumb.
I think children need to learn. I applied that to my kids. Whenever they said we were painting a house, when we moved into the house, and Andrew was padding around in his padders. Yeah, can I help? And
it's a brush.
The answer is yes, of course you can. So we got him in clothes that didn't matter, put him on something covering the carpet, and gave him a brush with paint. I said, yeah, paint the wall. And we painted the wall together. Yeah, he got bored in 5 minutes.
Yeah,
but
he had to go.
He had to go. But the important thing is, and I've done this with my kids the whole of their life. If they've wanted to do something they haven't done before, I did everything I could to facilitate it because they had success experiences. And if you have success experiences, you think I can do. And with that attitude, sure, you're going to have to learn the times when you do and it fails, but that's another lesson altogether. But if you grow up in a can-do environment, then the default is, let's go, yeah, I can do it. And I think that was probably something that has set them in good stead.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Because that's probably part of their DNA now. They don't think about whether I can or not. It's like, well, I'll give it a go. I'll have a try. Where sometimes, so in my environment where I was growing up, it was like, what do you want to do that for? And, oh, you can't do that. And, oh, really? That's not going to work. So that was I had to break through that barrier. So it wasn't me looking at what I wanted to do going, I'm going to do it. It was like, can I? Oh, I'm not sure. Because that's the environment that I'd grown up in. So I think you have gifted your children an amazing attitude to be able to
thank you. That was a conscious choice to do that. They have infinitely much more confidence than I had. No, seriously, I was not one for as well you may know, for leaping to my feet. I can do it now quite comfortably, and that's just the wisdom of years and the building of confidence as time goes by. But it would fill me with horror to even go to a trade show when I was young. It was just I've got to talk to people I don't know. So things come along and you think, no, I've got to force myself out on this. And somebody wrote to me and said, will you write a technical paper on electrical temperature measurement? I thought, well, I'm qualified to do it. We sell the equipment, and I've developed products of my own in that field. So the answer, I said, yeah, I'll do that. She said, oh, and would like you to deliver it to an audience. I said, go on, how many? It's 150.
Nice.
So I thought, no, I'll do it. It was the biggest sort of leap into the unknown, because I knew ultimately it would be a tremendous experience for me to say I can do it. And then if I do it, I learn by it, and I'm there. Well, I've trained myself for the future. If I do it and I realise it's not me, I will not put myself in that position again. So it was a learning thing. But the one thing I learned was, when you publish your paper, don't release it before the event. Because everybody had a copy of it. It ran to about 4 pages, and I went down the key points of it, and you imagine 150 people going in a room. It was like a clap of thunder. So there's a learning.
Yeah, take that one with you. Yeah, that's a little top tip for nothing from Simon Thomas. Fantastic. So obviously, as you were growing up, and you fell into the natural space of engineer for you, and obviously went off to university and got qualified and everything, but you must have seen probably the biggest change through the last 20-30 years of technology, as it's gone from zero, or when we all used to have a little computer at home that was dial-up, and at that point when we were all like that, going, oh, what's an email again, and finding out about it, you were in the thick of it, weren't you? You were kind of
I absolutely loved it, and being in a scientific environment, because we sold equipment to scientific and medical research. I was in my element with that, and that fitted very comfortably. But the business was. I don't know if we were slow to adopt technologies, and that was a learning actually. We had a financial director who was really very good from a point of view. He steered the company very well during times of hardship when other businesses were failing. He was very astute on guiding the business and in investing and the like. And the other director was originally my father. The father found the business. He was hail fellow, well met. He just went round and he did the selling, the setting up of the agencies. So that they were a very complementary partnership. And when I came along, I could see that the world was moving in a certain direction, and database marketing didn't exist by the name at the time. It was late 80s. It wasn't in our sphere. And I said we need computers, and we need to start automating how we run the business. And I got tremendous resistance, because the FD didn't understand it and wasn't really of a mindset to actually go, no. He said, no, this is how it's always been done, and this is how we will carry on doing it.
Oh, that's
and this is where I get great traction, which I can get onto now, because that mindset still exists.
Yeah.
In businesses, and
it's killing businesses, isn't it?
Ultimately, yes, they will not understand why they're not competitive. But anyway, this FD came in and one day, and he said, "I've read in the FT that database marketing is the way forward. Simon, can you make this happen?" So, hallelujah! But it had to come from the FT, which was the one font of all truth, which I found immensely frustrating. And then we did actually get in a basic network, and all of a sudden accounts happened more quickly, stock moved through the business more quickly. We managed to reach out to our customers with a mailing 4 times a year of a catalogue that we put together in house. Wow. Yeah, there was all of a sudden they were enablers, and the business went to a good place with this. Yeah. The FD walked in and he said, "What are all these televisions doing in here?" No word of a lie. He was from a different era. And I've learned now that the teams that I engage predominantly they're a mix. There's wisdom and knowledge and board experience in me. There's technical experience in my Prince 2 project managers, because they're skilled and they're up to current business standards as to how things are processed. And then my teams they're invariably in their 20s and early 30s, and I say to them that don't do what I want, make what I want better.
Right.
So if I give you a specification, I want to know how it can be delivered. What will we be missing on this project next year, because I want you to build it in this year.
That's a big ask. Yeah.
And it is, because there are certain teams that we source from all over the world. I've got high-end teams in the UK, and I've got high-end teams abroad, and it does mean that I can deliver the right thing for the right project. There are certain projects where you actually need a UK-based team that can actually go in and effectively dissect the business before we build something for it. Which we've built systems that actually run the whole business process.
This is what I love, is that you don't have a one-size-fits-all. I mean, a lot of businesses will go, this is what we've got, and we'll make it to fit your business, and we'll make sure that what you need is what we can provide. But you're going, well, we've got this, or we've got this, or we've got this, or we've got this, and let's see what you need, and I'll utilize all of this to find out what's the best thing for you.
It is. It's coming back to me joining the dots technologically.
Yeah.
It will not be I don't have I haven't built a solution that we know that does all the things, and everybody fits their system around that, we, where the budget permits, will write the system to fit. And where we can, we'll write it with fairly conventional web technologies, which means that it can sit behind your website, so it can be shared through your website, whatever the resource is. And it will work on every device, because websites work on every device. And then as soon as you just start linking in things like your customers, your stock, your staff, your support teams, your fulfillment house, your distribution network, your franchisees, your whatever, as soon as you link them all up in the same universe, and then put a set of rules around it with relational databases, you can do anything. Automate it so that the stuff that people actually have to do, type an email, pass it to them, but I do that on every single job. Well, automate it, and let the system do it.
Yeah. So you're a bit like the sorcerer that's making all the magic happen. And then you bring it together, and then you've got the business owner becomes the apprentice, learning how to together.
Well, that's what excites me. That I suppose is my if we have to label it, that is my genius.
Yeah, absolutely.
I see where we can join things up with technology, and I actually love the technology. And if I can bring a troglodyte to the point where he goes, "Wow, that I wished I'd seen this years ago," and then actually a smile comes on his face. We're going to enjoy this.
Yeah.
Not only because it's going to make his business more efficient, but because all the people in the business are going to have a better experience. The business is more sustainable, quite simply, because it's not wasting resources where it doesn't need to, and it's put time, money, and thought into a solution that will take the business further forward without spending any more money.
Well, I've come across a lot of people that are busy expanding their businesses, and I say to them, so what happens if you're servicing 20 clients at the moment? What happens if you get 200? And they're like, that's a nice problem to have. And I'm like, well, no, actually, because what will happen is you'll service 25 businesses, and the others that have come on won't get serviced properly, and then you've got yourself a bad reputation. Your current customers will hear about it, and they'll bugger off because they're not interested in working with somebody that can't maintain. So they need that system in place in order to get capacity, and they need it in place before the capacity comes, in order to grow at a steady rate, and then just take it on board and take it on board and take it on board.
It's always the business dilemma. Do you say, right, we are set for growth, so therefore, if every new client means we have to employ one more person, that actually this new business just actually pays for that one person, you're standing still. The efficiencies have got to come in, so that when you scale up more customers, you don't have to proportionally scale up the amount of support mechanisms in place. So automating this and moving this to systems that run themselves or require minimal input, you then create the gap here, and this extra gap is the additional resource to take on more clients, or to not take on more clients and actually just have a more efficient business.
Yeah, and then find some more time for yourself, because you're not doing all the running around like a headless chicken dance.
Well, part of being successful in business is actually being alive, and if you don't take care of yourself, the rest of it's going to fall apart.
Yeah,
if you take care of yourself, that goes to beyond business. It goes into everything. Well, if you're in a good place, everybody else around you stands a bit chance of being influenced by you.
This is one of the things that you've been finding out at Collaboration Global, because some of the conversations are around loving yourself, empowering yourself, having good mental health. All of those things are part of the package, aren't they? Because if you're stretched to the hilt, we've been talking, lots of articles and subjects around overwhelm have been flying around as well. So, is overwhelm a choice, or is it something that actually you can, you don't have to suffer from overwhelm if you put everything in place? On the other hand, is it something that kind of comes at you from, a curved ball that you don't see coming? That's another subject, really. What I want to do is put you on the spot, if I may. And I've only just thought about this, so I couldn't have prepped you for this. of the future, you've already said you don't look back, you're looking forward. What would you say is for an SME, for a small business owner, what's the biggest challenge coming up for them from the perspective of technology coming forward, or what's the next big thing that people are going to be thinking about for their business, would you say?
Thank you, Jill.
Only from the point of view of you're probably more abreast of the technical news than I am, and obviously I see things and they freak me out, like artificial intelligence, augmented reality, all of these kind of things. And I'm like, most people are like, oh no, it's different, it's change, I'm not interested, I'm not gonna, I prefer doing that over there looking back. Actually, what gets you excited? What do you see coming forward that it's like, oh, that would be good?
Well, I think SMEs. I wrote an article on LinkedIn during the week. There are the people with their heads in the sand going, no, everything's fine. We don't need to look at new technology or whatever. And then the other end of the scale, there are the people who are saying, oh, overwhelmed, the word you used. Most apt word. It's all coming at me, but I've got to run my business. But they have to assess all these shiny things.
Yeah.
So one of the biggest warnings is don't ignore it. Don't be overwhelmed by it. I now have a period during the week when I will consider assessing anything that's come along. And it's usually at a point where I must have a business need for it. And I must have, this thing must have hit my consciousness, whatever this new shiny toy, it must have hit my consciousness at least 2 or 3 times, and to the point where it's gained some credibility. I really do not have the time, and I find it most frustrating if I get dragged into looking at every shiny new toy. So that is the warning. To work out where you are on the scale, so that you're not ignoring the good that can come, but you are being sensible about assessing what's happening. And this is where I like to work with businesses, because people's capacity for understanding the technical side of things may not be present in a business. They may be brilliant mechanical engineers, they may be brilliant designers, but if there's no understanding of automation and technology, then they're not going to address it. But if they know that it's something they should consider, this space here, me joining the dots up again, is where I want to live as an ad hoc technical director for people, because I'm really in my element, actually seeing what challenges they've got, seeing where they some automation or some new solution may be of benefit to them, but they're not in a position to assess it. I will come on as their right-hand man on their side. I will be their advocate, and I'll research, if I don't know already, the components that will make up the solution for them, and I will interview suppliers so they get, but they know they're not going to be pitched from me. They're going to get an honest assessment based on X tens of years of business experience putting in technical solutions, so they know they're going to get an honest appraisal by somebody skilled.
Because at the moment there must be an awful lot of businesses that put in place all their technology 10, 20 years ago, and they've grown and their technology is still the same, and it's bursting at the seams, and it's like, well, what do we use next? And what was before was a this or this, now they've got all of this, and it's like, where do you go? And if you're not technically minded, or if you don't have that skill or that expertise or so on, they need someone like you to kind of sit in there for
absolutely
however long it takes. That's a really good point. I've never even seen you in that role. I like that.
Don't take it up. simonthomas.org.uk. It's all there.
Fantastic.
Don't take advice from the guy on the bar stool when you go to the pub.
Most people do, don't they? Yeah.
Don't think family know better.
No.
And don't use the daughter's boyfriend, because he will not be around. Because I've rescued people that have taken all of these choices as their business gurus.
Yeah.
But there's no longevity in that. You've got to if your business depends on it, don't risk it. Don't risk it. No, the ad hoc technical director thing is it puts me in a place where there's unknown, and there are solutions out here, and it just puts me in a place where I'm at my best. Assessing what this what this enterprise needs, and then as soon as there's a bond of trust that hey, this guy does know what he's talking about and can do the assessment and understand our process, then then I can go out on their behalf and put the solution together.
So I can see from your whole body energy, as soon as you start talking about, joining the dots and finding solutions, it's like, this is like, so you must love going to work every day because you're actually helping, you talk about Collaboration Global is all about helping people, and people have their mission, and I'm not really sure what I'm supposed to be doing, but you're on your mission already, aren't you? So it's like you're living it. You don't even see it because it's all around you and it's what you're doing. So for you to go to work on a Monday morning, it's like, woohoo, isn't it? You're actually living the dream.
It is. The routine churn, I find tedious, but I've minimised most of that in my work environment. I'm blessed with a wife who complements me perfectly from the point of view that I will invent and build the systems to make the business happen, which is not her bag at all. Running the systems and making certain that everything is absolutely right is Denise's thing. And she has the sort of the accountant's brain, which will be, it's messy if someone pays a bill. We've got customers that won't pay the pennies, and it frustrates the hell out of them because there's 5 pence left on the account. Because it's messy. It doesn't bother me because pragmatically the thousands have gone in. The 5 pence isn't a bother, but that's the kind of the level of detail that is important to her.
Yeah. And at Collaboration Global, we talk about a successful collaboration is one where there are 3 or more people, and you start with 3 because it's like the 3-legged stool. It's solid and it's got this foundation, and then you can start to see some magic happen. Now, of course, you do have another member of your family in your business as well, don't you? Your daughter supports you in some of the work that she does.
I have a very bright son who's got an honours degree in computing with business, and
he doesn't fall far from the tree then.
Far brighter than I, and I couldn't afford him. And my daughter, who's freelance part of the weekend, works for a couple of other companies during the other days. She's come on leaps and bounds, and she's a creative force to be reckoned with.
Wow, fantastic.
So I'm very privileged.
So you're experiencing the collaborative effect, in this kind of natural space, which is probably why you came to us and sort of looked around and went, this feels like it's comfortable. Not necessarily knowing, putting your finger on what it was, but you kind of like the space and what it could be and what it could mean.
It was a different space, Jill. It was
certainly wasn't BNI.
It was certainly what BNI. And interesting, you might want to know that my BNI closed last night, or closed yesterday. It did indeed. It reached the end of its journey. But once again, that's another discussion. It's very sad because there's it was a significant input into my life and my my business relationships from when I started Toucan. But notwithstanding that, there's a private Facebook group, and all the ex-members are on it. So the relationships that were built are not forgotten.
And you have to work at it. You can't just go, I went there, I was a member for 3 months 6 years ago. Your history, but it's keeping the relationships going. That's the powerful thing as well.
And this is just another, maybe it's an age thing. I now realize that everything has a life cycle. Everything has a life cycle, and you can never see it in certain circumstances. You can predict when a recession is coming because the
signals are there.
They've tracked grain before money, when effectively the currency was grain prices back in the Middle Ages. It's cyclical. It's the same cycle all the time, all the time. It just the economics chaps will tell you what it is, but I'm sure it's something like every 60 years or something like that. There's something major, and there are periodic ones every 9 or 10 years, or something like that. But it's economics, not my bag.
No.
But it is predictable.
Yes.
Much as the society changes predicted in the Pendulum.
Yes.
Which was a book you put me on to a few years ago.
Yeah, that's a fascinating book, wasn't it? I love. Yeah. I was blessed to see the guy talk at one of them at a conference once. And it's just fascinating. If anyone gets a chance to read The Pendulum, that's definitely a good read. Let's change tack slightly, because we've been talking a little bit about business and what you love doing and what your buzz is, but from a techie mindset, actually your hobbies and your downtime are kind of on a different spectrum. So you want to share some of the stuff that gives you joy outside of work?
We're talking about me wanting to be a rock god.
one of the things.
I was fortunate enough. When I was at college, I had to do, it was a sandwich course, so I had to go out and do engineering in the field, and rather than go to sort of grubby backstreet engineering companies in the UK, I got a placement in Chicago twice. And cumulatively I went back again in the third year, and I probably lived out there for about 6 months altogether. I lived in the central Chicago by DePaul University, and commuted out to the suburbs where I was working, sort of a bit of a back to front way. But it woken in me a love of Chicago blues. It is absolutely the music of the soul. Yeah. And if you can rock up at a bar at 3 a.m. with your guitar and just nod at the barman, and then just go up into the corner stage and play, it's just something magical. And the quality of the musicians that just rock up and play was absolutely phenomenal. And I thought, it just sort of stirred something inside me. I get a tingle down my back at big concerts. Because the music just does it to me. It's just a sort of powerful thing. So when I was 21, I bought my Fender Stratocaster in Chicago, and it was either going to be engineer or rock god. But I'm still alive, so maybe I chose the right course.
Well, it's not too late. Some rock gods are knocking on a bit now.
I know, but they probably had hits in the 60s as well, which I didn't.
Well, do you know what I've always wanted to do? We find that a lot of our members have got musical talents, and I'd love to hire a venue and say, right, let's either go and have a jam session, or let's actually practice and rehearse together and then put on a mini show and get something out there, because there's a lot of people that are very talented.
I do love pop-up bands in Round Table, when we had ladies' nights and had bands hired. When the bands went off for the interval, we used to go on and take up their instruments and play.
Wow.
And nobody in the audience, none of the visitors would know what was happening, or the guests.
Did the band know that you were pinching?
Oh yeah. That was, or by arrangement, because some of them were rather precious about their instruments. So we had some of our own as well. But that was always a bit of fun. And at B&I, odd meetings, I've turned up with a guitar, and other people have played. So it's just it always breaks the routine of things to interject a bit of music.
Yeah, music's powerful. It's a way of joining people together, I think. And you can hear one piece of music and it means something to you, and then it means something else to somebody else, and that kind of is a bond that is this invisible connection that you can go, oh yeah, because of that music. That's what I remember.
Music and aftershaves.
Yes.
Quite seriously, I can put any number of aftershaves on, and they've all got very different memories.
Yeah, that was that holiday. That was that event.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I'm the same.
Tommy Hilfiger is Orlando. Burberry is Paris. I think maybe it's because those are the aftershaves I bought on the way out in the duty free. I don't know.
Well, that's how I used to do it. Yeah, Paloma Picasso is always going to be Lanzarote.
There you go.
Funny. So, what about the other thing, the wonderful sailing?
Well, that really was a passion, and as you're well aware, I have a boat for sale because I haven't sailed in 4 or 5 years, but it was a fantastic hobby. Only dinghy sailing, but you're there with the elements, and when you're sitting on the side of the boat with everything close hauled in, and you're scudding across the water, and you know that if you get it slightly wrong, you and everybody else is going to get wet. And I think sometimes unlike riding a motorcycle at silly speeds or whatever, the only thing you're going to do with a life jacket on a boat is get wet.
Right.
So you can have the real adrenaline buzz and the danger if you're adequately safe about how you get the boat out, and the people, you insist that people understand what's happening in the boat, then it's a safe and exhilarating sport. So, but it's something that I enjoy doing with lots of people. But the family have grown up, and they're all doing their own thing now. So the boat's sat there. I'm reluctant to sell it because I think one day I might have a change of heart, or build my blues bar on the beach somewhere, and I have the boat on the beach.
Yeah, or you could turn the boat into a bar, maybe.
It's not that big.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Or is it something you want to hang on to in case you get blessed with grandchildren at a later date and you can take them out?
Possibly. That's not even on my radar at all. It's there because I'm a sentimental fool.
I don't think you're a fool at all. I think a lot of people are sentimental. I like the idea somebody came up with at one of our meetings recently is, why don't you have a model made of it, so you've always got that memory.
So I haven't lost it. Yeah.
It's a nice photo or something. Yeah. Have you got a photo of you in it sailing?
Don't think I have, actually. Quite simply because it's cameras, only until recently, were not waterproof.
That's true.
So there is very little footage of the boat. But
ideally, what you want is somebody in another boat to take a photo of you, not somebody in your boat. Otherwise, you're kind of like crammed up. But
it's just that when we had 3 boats at one time. We used to take them all out. I had a little rib, a power boat for skiing, and the sailing boat. And we would sometimes normally have 2 of them on the water.
Yeah.
I would sail, and the others would take the powerboat or whatever. So we could have done, but at the time we just didn't think about it.
Yeah.
But no, it would have been a nice memory to have.
Well, maybe it's an excuse to go one more time in the summer.
Yeah.
Don't ask my husband to join.
I was going to say, is Alan available?
Yeah, he got wet, didn't he?
No, we're still friends, but I bought him an ice cream, bought his friendship back.
That's all it takes. That's all it takes. So what do you see? I mean, a little while ago, and I'm not saying how long ago, we came to a significant birthday party of yours, which was brilliant fun. I really enjoyed it. Thank you. What do you see as the future for Simon Thomas?
I always look at it through the eyes of my family, to be honest with you. For me, I'm business-wise, I'm looking to be in a position in 4 years where I don't have to work. Whether I carry on or don't carry on, or carry on in a different form, or sell the business, or I really don't know. But I just want to be in a position then when I've got the option of not working.
Yeah.
So that's business-wise what I'm working to. To be honest with you, I haven't got any significant ambitions to buy a place abroad, or I always want to travel. So that's that's a general thing. But I just enjoy the simple things. We've got a couple of dogs. We were very blessed. We've got ancient woodland, 50 yards, 100 yards that way in Hatfield Forest. We love walking. And it's a great way of getting away from the focal distance of 2 foot, which is what I'm looking at the screen for
like most people. It's very easy to get stuck with that.
Yeah, Denise and I, it just the future is family, friends, and fun. If that sounds rather hedonistic and simple, then that's me.
I don't know, because that's what you see around you, but you've created this lovely bubble of wonderful friends and wonderful family. You're one of the few people I know that have got a really good relationship with their kids. that you probably would choose to hang out with them rather than anybody else because they're fun, not just because you happen to be related to them.
What is nice is that they still choose to hang out with us.
Exactly.
Exactly. And that's not because we're paying for the ski passes.
Okay. Are you sure? That helps. But yeah, so although you're saying you've got simple hedonistic dreams, actually what you've created for yourself allows you to have those lovely things around you without it being hedonistic, because it's what you've managed to nurture and create.
Yeah, I love technology, and I love what we've built around in our home. It is like a little mini resort. So there's cycling on the doorstep where we can go and cycle around Hatfield Forest.
Yeah, beautiful.
After talking to Kay, and she told me the joys of a hot tub. We put a hot tub in. I've had an above ground pool for a while, and that's exercise. It's just I don't necessarily need to go and spend thousands to go to the Gambia or something.
No.
I love city breaks. I love because you just get a complete hit of culture and lovely food, different restaurants and that. So long weekend breaks, and even in the UK as well as abroad, I've got a passion for. But the extended laying on a beach holiday, I'm happy being able to jump on the bike, have a swim, get some friends around for a barbecue. That's more of a holiday to me than flying the other side of the world.
I think you probably get to a certain age, I'm speaking about myself now, where the people become more important than the places. And to go to a place and just be isolated in a hotel complex or a mini resort on its own, it's the people that are around, and whether it's the people that you are new and you're meeting, that's to me is the break, or if it's the people that you take with you to have an experience together, that's the value. So you come back feeling refreshed rather than wiped out or too much.
As long as I can put work down for a while, I'm happy.
Yeah. It's having that change of scenery as well, isn't it? I think
it is. Yeah, very much so.
I'll have to get myself a bike, I think.
You should do where you live, even just to cycle around your area.
Yes, indeed. Well, I could cycle around, but if you wanted to cycle into town, it's kind of like that. So I could cycle down quite easily, but getting back up would be a bit more of a problem.
Get an electric bike.
Oh, okay. That's a good idea. Yeah. Isn't that cheating?
Sort of.
Yeah. No, I like that.
But idea. I suppose you need to set a marker. As soon as people start giving you their seat on the train, you can buy an electric bike.
I can buy an electric bike. Somebody gave me their seat yesterday, and I was like, "Aren't you nice?" I said, "Really lovely." Then you think, "Do I look that old?"
Do I look that old? Yes.
But yeah, he's a very, very nice person. Well, listen, I just want to, on that note, talking about us looking incredibly young for our age.
Thank you. We are.
I think it's been lovely talking to you, Simon. I love the passion that you have for your business and the understanding that you have that everyone's got a business that can be made easier for them through all of the technology that you can incorporate. And then if you're trying to do that on your own and you don't know what way to go, it's angst, it's stress. It's the definition of stress, I think. And for you to be able to come in as a technical director or supporter to help anybody, I think we will put all of Simon's details down. What's the best email address to contact you on?
Simon at toucanweb, toucanweb.co.uk.
There we go. So that's the email address. We'll put that on the post as well. And please contact him if you need any of your tech issues sorted. I'm sure he'll be happy just to have a quick conversation and find out if there's anything he can do and maybe solve the problem like that. But that's the beauty of Collaboration Global, when you can come to a meeting and sit down and have maybe a one-to-one with Simon, or a quick beer after the meeting. And you get to know a little bit more about him, more than we've heard today, and see if he can help in any way.
Absolutely. Let your stress be my challenge, because that challenge is what I thrive on. Oh,
that's a good quote, isn't it? Let your stress be my challenge. I love it. Absolutely love it. Thank you.
End on that one?
I think so. It leaves me to say thank you very much for being our guest today. If anybody's interested in Collaboration Global, they can go to collaborationglobal.org and you'll find details of our meetings. You'll also find a connection onto our platform if you want to meet some more of our community online. And we also have the Academy where you can learn more about how to collaborate more effectively and hang out with people like Simon. So thank you very much for joining us today. I look
Pleasure,
forward to
Jill.
seeing you next time. Take care, guys. Thanks a lot.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, Simon. Bye.